Well, hi. We're back 2025 and we're carrying on here and we're going to be looking at the back. We're back to look at the back. So on the maquette we can see that the back is hinged in two places. One's here and one's here. Remember, this is a 1/2 inch scale. So we need to attach it here and get another piece of hinge to attach the back. That allows this to fold up part way or all the way and fold all the way down into the bed. Let's look at the Victor EZ here. So we've got an 8-inch piece and a 16-inch piece. And we're going to hinge that on there, hinge these together. But as you can see, this isn't wide enough. So we need to add our 1x3 to the edge. And we've got a 4-foot piece left, which will be plenty to do each end. If we look at the original shape, you can see that this isn't square. So it curves away like this. So our piece is about 24 inches long, so somewhere up around 20 inches, this curves away. So what we need to do is we need to make a template of this that we can put onto our edge. So if we add our 1x3 here, I've left a little space for the hinge there. We'll put our template on there. So as you can see, our back is going to be cut away like this. And in this case, our blocks will be somewhere behind here. 3/4 of an inch in on each side. So we'll just mark that so we know that's approximately how far the block should come, because this will be cut away and we don't want the blocks to extend past. Now we'll just look exactly how these blocks work. So there's a block of 1x2 attached to the plywood and a block of 1x2 attached to our 1x3 edging. And then we will screw those together into a bigger block that will hold the two of them together, but it also serves as the spot where this rests on the cubby hole at the back when it's in the down position. So what we need to do is cut 2 blocks on each side this size and 2 blocks on each side this size. We'll get that done. Jigsaw time. Now that we have all the blocks cut, we just need to attach them, and they'll be attached flush to the edge and flush to this end. And we're going to screw them through the top. So what we'll do to mark it is just take our board, make a mark, use this as a 1/2 inch space, 1.5 inches in each way, and we'll just see what the difference is. 9 3/4, so 3 7/8 there. And we'll just put that screw right in the middle. And we'll do the same for the smaller block. And you might see that I've marked this so that the grain is continuous, so I haven't flipped it around. So I know that my block has to go on this side. And we'll just do exactly the same. Put block there. 1.5 inches each side. Right down the middle. So we'll drill holes in here, big enough for the screw to go through, countersink them, and then screw, and I'm going to screw and glue these on here. So we'll just get everything ready and we'll be good to go. Just going to use a little countersink bit there just to recess the screw heads. Okay, ready to go. So I'm going to use some 1.5 inch screws, and as always, our screw wants to go straight through there and not bind at all. Okay, so that'll pull in. And I'm going to drill a small pilot hole just so it doesn't split, and we'll put a bit of glue on here. It's a bit more than we need. So now that we've got the sides all screwed and glued together, we can look at the blocks that have to go onto the panel. This is when we run into a little bit of a problem, because the panel is only 1/2 inch thick. So what it means is our block isn't big enough to bring this flush. So we're going to have to cut a little strip of 1/4 inch to put on the top of here, just to get the spacing right. With all our strips and blocks cut, we can carry on exactly the same way as before. We'll mark our block, 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. So we want to make sure that our block also has a hole through it. So we want that to be flush. And I also glued it. I took a little sandpaper just to clean up the edges, and now what we're going to do is screw those two pieces together so that they're flush. So we'll drill some holes through here, making sure that we don't hit these screws. 1 inch in this way, 1 inch in that way, and right in the middle. 1.5 inch screws. We just make that as flush as possible. And if we have to, we'll correct it at the bottom. It's difficult to get these things all flush when you're cutting things by hand. So I'm just going to sand it a little bit. So there we have one side finished, and we have the blocks holding the two pieces together and making a pad for it to rest when it's in the down position. When assembling these side pieces, this may be the time to get your C-clamp out. So if you clamp that lightly there, then you can just take a hammer and just make sure that's nice and flush. And because our plywood isn't exactly 1/4 of an inch, we're going to have this little lip here, which there is plywood you can find 1/4 of an inch thick. Not that easy to find. So we're going to just sand this down because we really don't have any other way to cut that away easily. So we're not gluing this, we're just screwing it, and I'm also not recessing the heads. The screws are 1.5 inches, so we don't want them to poke through here. So, and they're on the inside, so they won't get in anybody's way. We'll just tighten them right down. Well, another thing to keep in mind is that this is the piece that's left over from our 1x3, and it makes the perfect sanding block. So whatever you do, save this piece and just wrap your sandpaper around that, and that'll give you a good flat surface when you have to sand this. The block will really help you flatten this out. And what we want to do is also round off all of the corners. I'm using 60, which is pretty rough, but it helps to cut that through. And so once we're finished, what it's going to look like is that. We'll just use a little bit of 80 to smooth it back out, but the corners are all nice and rounded. Because remember, that's the part that sits on top of the back little cubby hole on the edge of it to support the bed. So we don't want it to be sharp at all. But that's looking good. Well, now that we have the blocks all done, that is pretty much it for those back two panels. And what we're going to need to do now is figure out how we're going to attach them together. We got another piece of piano hinge. But before we do that, we have to work on the cutout to make the profile exactly what's going to fit in the back of the element. But that is for another day. That was a lot of work sanding that, and if maybe you got somebody that's got a belt sander or a palm sander, it could cut down your labor a bit, but it's not impossible to do it all by hand. And I know I said this was the Victor EZ. All I was saying was that it's going to be easier than the original Victor E. So thanks again for coming, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.